My name is Reverend Juniper Meadows. It's my pleasure to be your subtle minister here at Second Unitarian Church of Omaha. We begin worship the same way every Sunday with number 188 in your hardback hymnal. We sing it twice in English, then we change the key and sing it in Spanish. But don't worry, the lyrics will be on the screen. We'll do our best together, friends. You can rise if you would like to. You don't have to, but you're welcome to if you want to. Chris?
Nuestra no es procesión de perder. Ven otra vez, ven otra vez, ven.
Good morning. Welcome to Second Unitarian Church of Omaha's multi-platform worship service. Welcome to all of you in the sanctuary and on Zoom on this beautiful waning summer day. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, and I'm looking forward to the service this morning, as I'm sure you all are as well. My name is Lorraine Duggan. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and I have the privilege of being your worship associate this morning with Reverend Juniper Meadows, our settled minister, there in the sanctuary with you. We welcome you to a church that outright proclaims that we want people to be real with themselves and one another. A church that expects that we be compassionate to ourselves and to those around us. We welcome all of you to a church that encourages us to see everything around us, how it can be better, and then work for change in our lives and in the world. A special welcome to any visitors today. We invite you to stay after the service for coffee and conversation in the sanctuary. If you're on Zoom, please stay for the breakout rooms so we can get to know you better. Wherever you are in your spiritual journey, we ask you to join us in a community of seekers. We recognize that every person who visits or joins this church enriches us all. We are an inclusive, nurturing, liberal religious community engaged in thoughtful pursuit of truth and meaning. We strive to live by our values of justice, equity, transformation, pluralism, independence, and generosity. And our mission is to become more authentic, compassionate, and transformative human beings in all aspects of our lives. This congregation practices whole family worship and works to be radically welcoming and accessible to people of all ages and abilities. We purposefully welcome children and the sounds of joyful life in our sanctuary. And please know that we're a full and growing community that models inherent worth and dignity for all humans in this sacred space. Please make yourself comfortable throughout the service. We invite you to join in whenever you wish, but it's also okay to just sit quietly, or we have activity bags and fidget toys with no age limits available in the back of the sanctuary, and we invite you to move your body as needed during the worship. We do ask you to silence your phones during the service. We're recording parts of this service, so if you do not wish to be on camera, you may want to move back from the first rows. Our Soul Matters theme for the months of July and August is Summer of Powerful Love. And today with Reverend Juniper Meadows, we will explore the life, legacy, music, ministry of loving kindness, and powerful advocacy of Mr. Fred Rogers. For our first act of worship, please greet those next to you. And on Zoom, please unmute yourselves to greet one another.
Hearty good morning. Calling back, and I want to have you do this sometime. Good morning, friends. We can pick up those conversations where we left them off during coffee hour when we're socializing together and finding fellowship. As I said before, my name's Reverend Juniper Meadows. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a tall, curly-haired woman with a navy blue dress, and I'm wearing one of my favorite stoles that our friend Mark Siepker gave to me when I first came here. It's very special to me. And I'm so happy to be your neighbor and your minister here at Second Unitarian Church of Omaha. I'm going to pass it to Lorraine. We begin worship every Sunday morning with a chalice lighting. And Lorraine, you have a nice chalice lighting for us, I think.
Yes, this chalice lighting has been adapted from the words of the Reverend Carl Seberg. Let there be powerful love in our coming together this morning. Let there be truth heard in the words we speak and the songs we sing. Let there be help and healing for our disharmony and despair. Let there be silence for the voice within us and beyond us. Let there be joy in our coming together. We light this chalice in celebration of the power of love in community. And we usually follow our chalice lighting with a covenant. Rather than reciting creeds or professing dogmatic beliefs, this church practices covenants, which are sacred promises we make on how we will relate to one another as a faith community. This covenant goes back to the church's founding. It's adapted from James Villa Blake. Please say it with me. Sarah will have the words on the screen. Love is the spirit of this church. The quest for truth is sacrament. And this is our covenant: to dwell together in peace, to seek truth in love, and to help one another believe more fully in life. And because Spanish is the second most spoken language in the United States, in the spirit of inclusiveness, we'll also say the covenant together in Spanish. Just do your best. El amor es el espíritu de nuestra iglesia, la búsqueda de la verdad nuestro sacramento. Y esto es nuestro gran acuerdo, que convivamos en paz, que busquemos la verdad en el amor, y que nos ayudemos uno al otro a creer más en la vida. And our first song with the dulcet singers this morning will be Won't You Be My Neighbor?
I invite all neighbors who would like to, again, to rise and embody your spirit and join us in song.
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, a neighborly day for a beauty. Would you be mine? Could you be mine?
It's a neighborly day
for a beauty. Would a neighborly day for a beauty? Would you be mine? Could you be mine? I have always wanted to have a neighbor just like you. I've always wanted to live in a neighborhood with you. So let's make the most of this beautiful day. Since we're together, we might as well stay. Could you be mine? Could you be mine? Won't you be my neighbor? Won't you
you please, won't you please, please won't you be my
Neighbor.
Good morning. I'm Ashley Fusen. I'm the DRE here at Second Unitarian Church. And I'm not going to go to the podium today.
No, we're good back
What do you
here.
think
That's
about
totally
that?
fine.
I grew up without cable, so I didn't get to watch much, but I did get to watch PBS. And now as an adult, I've worked in early childhood education for 22 years, and I can say that children's programming has always been in my life. Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood gave birth to Fred Rogers Productions, so we still get to share his wholesome brand of socio-emotional learning through shows like Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood, Peg and Cat, The Odd Squad. Come on, I know you guys watch them too, right? Mr. Rogers also has taught me about the relationship kids. Educators will understand what I mean, that there are kids who can come in, they can get instruction, they'll listen to your stories, they'll engage, but there are some kids who are relationship kids, and they cannot take instruction, they won't buy into your stories, they won't engage with anything unless they share a connection with the teacher. Mr. Rogers was for the relationship kids, for the deeply sensitive kids. His programming was slower and safer for children. The stories were nuanced. Instead of blasting sounds and images in 3-second increments, he reached through the screen and held children's small hands through difficult things. And that showed how much respect he had for that age group. He knew that people learn best from one another, and he understood that he had qualities of great wisdom to share and help educate with vulnerability. Mr. Rogers was an avatar for the Buddha. He will be remembered as an important teacher instead of simply a television show host. All of this from his very simple philosophy of kindness. He likes you just the way you are. And he taught us that. The toughest thing to do is to love somebody who has done a mean thing to you, especially when that somebody is yourself. We're going to share a song today.
This is a song. Well, think to yourselves, friends. Have you ever been angry or sad? Have you ever been angry or sad, Ashley?
No.
Wow. I don't think Miss Ashley's telling the truth. I think she's playing a joke on us. And that's okay. Sometimes it's okay to be funny. And it's also okay to be sad or to be angry and to share those feelings, right? Not because they're not funny. So friends, whether you are very small or very old, when you have a big feeling, let's just practice it together. Can we say, I'm angry?
I'm angry.
Yeah, there's some stuff to be angry about today, right? Maybe we can say, I'm sad.
I'm sad.
Good job. It's just like that. It's just having safe people, no matter how old we are, to share our feelings with. And that's what Fred Rogers was about teaching us how to deal with our feelings in ways that don't harm other people and that don't harm ourselves. And this song is called Please Don't Think It's Funny.
Sometimes you feel like holding your pillow all night long.
Sometimes you hug your teddy bear tightly. He's old, but he's still strong.
And sometimes you want to snuggle up closely with your own mom and dad.
At night, you even need the light sometimes, but that's not bad. So
Please don't think it's funny when you want an extra kiss. There are lots and lots of people who sometimes feel like this. please don't think it's funny when you want the ones you miss. There are lots and lots of people who sometimes feel like this. It's great to know you're growing up bigger every day.
But somehow the things you like to remember are often put away.
And sometimes you wonder over and over if you should stay inside.
When you enjoy a younger toy, you never need to hide.
In the long, long trip of growing,
There
there are stops along the way for thoughts of all the soft things and the look of yesterday, for a chance to fill our feelings with comfort and with ease, and then tell the new tomorrow, you can come now when you please. So please don't think it's funny when you want an extra kiss. There are lots and lots of people who sometimes feel like this. And please don't think it's funny when you want the ones you miss. There are lots and lots of people who sometimes feel like this.
That's why we can share with other people and people in this community. We have safe neighbors to share with, and that's how we build the neighborhood, right? I also love to clap, and I'm so appreciative of you, friends. We have a very special video. It is a little longer, and it might seem a little dry because it's like a Senate hearing, but it's the best Senate hearing. The Fred Rogers testimony to the 1969 U.S. Senate. Sarah, you have a video for us?
Now, Mr. Rogers is certainly one of the best things that's ever happened to public television, and his Peabody Award is testament to that fact. We in public television are proud of Fred Rogers, and I'm proud to present Mr. Rogers to you now. Fred.
All right, Rogers, you got the floor.
Senator Pastore, this is a philosophical statement and would take about 10 minutes to read, so I'll not do that. One of the first things that a child learns in a healthy family is trust, and I trust what you have said that you will read this. It's very important to me. I care deeply about children. My first children...
Will it make you happy if you read it?
I'd just like to talk about it, if it's all right.
Sir. Okay.
My first children's program was on WQED 15 years ago, and its budget was $30. Now, with the help of the Sears Roebuck Foundation and National Educational Television, as well as all of the affiliated stations, each station pays to show our program. It's a unique kind of funding in educational television. With this help, now our program has a budget of $6,000. It may sound like quite a difference, but $6,000 pays for less than 2 minutes of cartoons, 2 minutes of animated, what I sometimes say, bombardment. I'm very much concerned, as I know you are, about what's being delivered to our children in this country. And I've worked in the field of child development for 6 years now, trying to understand the inner needs of children. We deal with such things as the inner drama of childhood. We don't have to bop somebody over the head to make him to make drama on the screen. We deal with such things as getting a haircut, or the feelings about brothers and sisters, and the kind of anger that arises in simple family situations. and we speak to it constructively.
How long a program is it?
It's a half hour every day. Most channels schedule it in the noontime as well as in the evening. WETA here has scheduled it in the late afternoon.
Could we get a copy of this so that we can see it? Maybe not today, but I'd like to see the program.
I'd like very much for you
I'd
to
like
see
to see the program itself, or any one of them, you see.
We made 100 programs for EEN, the Eastern Educational Network, and then when the money ran out, people in Boston and Pittsburgh and Chicago all came to the fore and said, we've got to have more of this neighborhood expression of care. And this is what I give. I give an expression of care every day to each child to help him realize that he is unique. I end the program by saying, you've made this day a special day by just your being you. There's no person in the whole world like you, and I like you just the way you are. And I feel that if we in public television can only make it clear that feelings are mentionable and manageable, we will have done a great service for mental health. I think that it's much more dramatic that two men could be working out their feelings of anger, much more dramatic than showing something of gunfire. I'm constantly concerned about what our children are seeing. And for 15 years, I have tried in this country and Canada to present what I feel is a meaningful expression of care.
Do you narrate it?
I'm the host, yes, and I do all the puppets, and I write all the music, and I write all the scripts.
Well, I'm supposed to be a pretty tough guy, and this is the first time I've had goosebumps for the last 2 days.
Well, I'm grateful not only for your goosebumps, but for your interest in our kind of communication. Could I tell you the words of one of the songs which I feel is very important?
Yes.
This has to do with that good feeling of control, which I feel that children need to know is there. And it starts out, what do you do with the mad that you feel? And that first line came straight from a child. I work with children, doing puppets in very personal communication with small groups. What do you do with the mad that you feel when you feel so mad you could bite? When the whole wide world seems oh so wrong, and nothing you do seems very right. What do you do? Do you punch a bag? Do you pound some clay or some dough? Do you round up friends for a game of tag or see how fast you go? It's great to be able to stop when you've planned a thing that's wrong and be able to do something else instead. And think this song. I can stop when I want to, can stop when I wish, can stop, 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 anytime. And what a good feeling to feel like this, and know that the feeling is really mine. Know that there's something deep inside that helps us become what we can. For a girl can be someday a lady, and a boy can be someday a man.
I think it's wonderful. I think it's wonderful. Looks like you just earned the $20 million.
One of the few times I think I would have enjoyed watching C-SPAN or something. How special is that? Born in Latrobe, Pennsylvania in 1928, the child who would become Mr. Rogers is perhaps not the one you would imagine. His biographies describe a young Fred as lonely, often ill, one caught up in personal fantasies with puppets in his bedroom, playing piano, swimming with his family, a quiet child with a relatively peaceful life. His father was a businessman, and his mother knitted sweaters for soldiers fighting in Europe while volunteering at the hospital. Fred was bullied for his weight as a child. And that stuck with him his entire life. And he also suffered from asthma. It wasn't until high school that Fred really started to make friends for himself. And he would go on to get his bachelor's degree in music in 1951 and then attended seminary, being ordained a Presbyterian minister in 1961. As we know, we have a retired Presbyterian minister. I was raised Presbyterian, actually. Fun crossover. As part of Fred's ordination, based off his interest in early childhood development and media, Fred's ministry was charged to be in service to children and families. So in 1951, shortly after beginning college, Fred experiences TV for the first time at his mother's house and was appalled, but also intrigued. He said in a CNN interview, "I went into television because I hated it so. And I thought there's some way of using this fabulous instrument to nurture those who would watch and listen." Wow, is that not relatable with, where's my phone at? I'm preaching off of a tablet, you know? Right. He would work in children's programming in the emerging field of television media and pursued ordination all the while. And he would go on to attend a graduate school of child development, where he met the woman who would become his child care guru, a woman named Margaret McFarland. And she would be his consultant on the vast majority of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood episodes and the music and scripts for years and years to come, a really important relationship. So Fred goes on an adventure to Canada, where he said he was working on children's programming there. That was a children's show just called Mr. Rogers. Fred would come to the United States and return with a new vision and lots of props, like the train and all the stuff. King Friday, I believe, also. These were all props from Mr. Rogers in Canada that he brought with him, and they stayed part of the episodes for years to come. In 1968, The Neighborhood was first aired, funded by PBS and the Sears Roebuck Foundation, $6,000, y'all. This is where most of us know Mr. Rogers from. It would run for 895 episodes, each exploring and emphasizing the emotional and social needs and realities of young children. While shows like Sesame Street dealt with getting kids ready to go to school, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, dealt with getting kids, like you said, ready to get a haircut, or to work through the death of a pet, or to live through a time of war. Fred worked painstakingly on each and every single episode. He wrote and performed the vast majority of the music, writing some 200 songs, 13 operas over his long career. He was a relative unknown. He had just won the Peabody Award when he was thrust onto that public stage in 1969, and captured in this moment we all saw together. U.S. President Lyndon Johnson had proposed $20 million for the creation of PBS before he left for office, but his successor, Richard Nixon, wanted to cut that funding to $10 million. Even though Rogers was not nationally known, he was chosen by public broadcasting to testify because of his legendary ability to make persuasive arguments and to connect emotionally with his audiences. In 1970, even the callous force of the Nixon administration would be moved to appoint Mr. Rogers as chair of the White House Conference on Children and Youth. Mr. Rogers, Fred, would marry Sarah Joanne Bird, Joanne, she was called. The two would have 2 sons. They shared a love of music and one another until Fred's death in 2003. Interesting fact, Fred Rogers was a registered Republican, remained independent in voting habits, seldom spoke about politics, but it's just interesting. And as we also said, he was a Presbyterian all of his life. And while elements of his faith certainly found their way into The Neighborhood, Fred did not use his show as a platform to preach dogma. He would say, you don't need to speak overtly about religion to get a message across. He also studied Judaism, Buddhism, Catholic mysticism. He remained a student of the world and other ways of being all of his life. An absolute legend, right? But altogether human. I watched the Tom Hanks movie last night, and there's a part where Lloyd, the main character, speaks to the woman playing his wife and says, "What's it like to be married to a living saint?" And she says, "Oh, he doesn't like to be called that. That makes his way of life seem unattainable." It's deeply human, and this way of being is deeply attainable, but still a legend, right? People study this video as a model for communications and persuasions. They were about to be cut in half by the Nixon administration, and here comes this Presbyterian preacher with a kid's show to pull Senator Pastore to tears under the gravity of such a compelling kindness. It's a resonance of the reminder of how important it is to be honest about our feelings. All this at a very strange, dynamic, exciting time in American politics and world affairs. I mean, the Civil Rights Act of 1968 was only recently passed, and a newly more reactionary Nixon administration had only just taken power when Mr. Rogers spoke to the United States government and the world. Our television neighbor, calling for emerging technologies to be used in thoughtful ways. Are we not in need of such a reminder, friends, to be thoughtful in how we invest our time and attention and resources in all things, even how we communicate and are communicated to in media? We need good quality information. Yes, this is why we need funding for things like public broadcasting. In some parts of the country, perhaps even in some parts of Nebraska, I know it's true back home in Tennessee, there are places where the public radio station is the only radio station. Threats to public broadcasting are actual threats to people. In some parts of the country, a public radio station, as I said, may be the only radio station. But you know, we also need room for wonder, friends, which is why we need good quality programming that calls us to the raw stuff of wonder, of feeling our feelings. Programs like Cosmos with Carl Sagan, and that helped us to feel the bigness of the world, or Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. And Sesame Street dealt with the mind, but also with feelings too. These are all many more than I can name that have received some amount of public funding in the promotion of the common good. There are still modern examples too that are like PBS Space Time is something I like a whole lot, or Storied. So many more things you can find on YouTube of all places that receive some amount of public support. So we need both, right? Information and wonder. Too often we seem to privilege only information. In an interview, I heard Mr. Rogers philosophize over our prioritization of information over wonder, of noise over silence, an obsession to fill in the space with the white noise of raw efficiencies, to cover over the parts that hurt, which of course are the parts that feel, just encouraging folks to merely function. Feelings. Well, feelings can feel too inconvenient, especially for grown-ups with all of our big, important plans. This happens too often, does it not? I get excited when I think about our big, important plans. When did we learn to hate to cry? When did we become scared to share our feelings? We don't want people to think we're being funny with our feelings or seem like we don't have it all together. We want to be respected. But I suspect every grown-up in here would say it's okay to cry, sometimes even good to cry, even if we struggle with it ourselves. So please don't think it's funny. If you want an extra kiss, if you want the ones you miss, please don't think that it's trivial, that it's a small thing to feel, or that your feelings, in particular your feelings, that they don't matter. No one has ever had your particular set of feelings, of experiences, ideas, thoughts about the world. This is true of everyone, of course. And so it is of you. This is how we are all special and fancy in our own way. That part of us that can not only recognize this about ourselves, but also in others. This is the part of us that is most special. It is the part of us that loves. It is the part of us that wonders, and it is a part that we must take very special care of. This is the part of the person that Fred Rogers was most concerned with nurturing, beyond mere naming, right? Mysterious quality of the soul, of the heart, of the being, of our own ontology, to use a big fancy word, but entirely within reach, to touch with a hug or a smile, a handshake, a compliment, just the regular everyday magic of love. This is the part of the person that Fred was most concerned with. He was a man at once entirely human, and yet whose legacy leaves him as a true luminary of caring in the memory and the mind of so many of us. May we reflect often and eagerly on the life of one, such a one, who taught us all so well. And I'm going to pass it back to Fred Rogers. Sarah?
But you know, the toughest thing is to love somebody who has done something mean to you, especially when that somebody has been yourself. Have you ever done anything mean to yourself? Well, it's very important to look inside yourself and find that loving part of you. That's the part that you must take good care of and never be mean to, because that's the part of you that allows you to love your neighbor. And your neighbor is anyone you happen to be with at any time of your life. Respecting and loving your neighbor can give everybody a good feeling.
Around this time in worship, we share in a community sacrament we call altar building. And in altar building, we have various stations in the front of the church and in the back of the church. Up front, we have flowers. Flowers of fellowship. Give them to a friend at a time. You can take one or two. That's okay. We also have stones. These stones are meant to represent burdens, things you might be carrying on to that you want to let go of, like a sadness or an anger. Here's a thing you can do with the mad that you feel. Give it to a stone, and when you're ready, give it back to the water. Feel the weight of the stone and the cold on your hands, and know that deep things call to deep things. If there is something in your life you want to shine a little bit of light on, come and take a stick, and then give that stick to the fire. Sometimes it takes a second, so we have to be patient. And when it's lit, you can light a candle. And then this is very important, make sure it's out all the way in the salt. And if you're a younger person, you might get a big person to help you with that. Well, before I go here, in the back we have a whiteboard that you can draw on if you're feeling creative. All of these are replicated on the back table back there. So if you don't want to be on camera or you'd rather go back there, that's totally fine. This is our book of life, and you can write whatever you want to in here. A prayer, a poem, a brief reflection. You can sign your name. You can stay anonymous. And what's written in here will be shared in an extemporaneous prayer of the people following altar building. And friends on Zoom, you can do the same with the chat box in the Zoom feature. And we will read your prayers of the people too. And something special, friends. This is the old book of life. It's full now. Your prayers and your thoughts and your feelings over the past 3 years contained herein. I'm going to put this on the back table, friends. I invite you to look through it a little bit. It's public information. Sometimes it's anonymous, but it's really interesting to see where we've been as a community over these past couple of years. So we'll keep collecting these over the years. This one is for you. And now this time is for you. So, thank you, Casey. See, I got a little ahead of myself. Grown-ups and our plans. Lorraine, would you introduce the offering?
Yes. The offering is a sacrament of the Free Church to assist in the transforming work of love and justice, and it's part of our altar building ceremony. Each month, this generous congregation shares half of our offering with a local nonprofit that helps to fulfill our mission of social justice. Our Share the Plate for July and August is Restoring Dignity. At the heart of restoring dignity is the belief that something can and should be done to meet the needs of Omaha's refugee community through empowerment, education, and advocacy partnerships. They provide resettled refugee families with crucial services, such as home makeovers, relief programs, and language access support. Their family educators go directly into homes and teach critical skills such as home fire safety, healthy home education, and homeowners maintenance education classes. All classes are taught in the language the family speaks by an educator who is from the family's community. They provide critical housing advocacy for refugees who are struggling with substandard living conditions. Restoring Dignity's Welcome Home program is a one-of-a-kind in the United States. Social justice is at the heart of our church, and every day you show up. So please give generously. We offer you several ways to contribute to this worthy cause. Besides the offering box at the front, as part of an altar building, you have a QR code, I think, on your order of service, I hope. Or you can go to our website at touomaha.org, click on the Giving tab. If you mail in a check, our address is Second Unitarian Church, 3012 South 119th Street, Omaha 68144. Please write "Share the Plate" in the memo line if you send a check. We thank you for your generosity toward supporting Restoring Dignity in our church. And now we'll go back to Reverend Meadows and altar building.
Thank you, Lorraine. And thanks for the reminder, Casey. The offering box is up here right beside the Book of Life. I forgot to point to it today. That's the first time. Well, this time is now yours, friends. If you want to participate in these stations, you're welcome to. Friends on Zoom, I invite you to make your space feel sacred to you. And right where you are, friends, is as special a place as any. So this is your time.
It's you I like. It's not the things you wear. It's not the way you do your hair. But it's you I like. The way you are right now. The way down deep inside you. Not the things that hide you. Not your toys, they're just beside you. But it's you I like, every part of you. Your skin, your eyes, your feelings, whether old or new. I hope that you'll remember. When you're feeling blue, that it's you, it's you, it's you I like. It's you I like. It's not the things you wear. It's not the way you do your hair. It's you I like. The way you are right now. The way down deep inside you. Not the things that hide you. Not your toys, they're just beside you. But it's you I like, every part of you. Your skin, your eyes, your feelings, whether old or new. I hope that you'll remember. Even when you're feeling blue, that it's you, it's you, it's you I like.
August 24th, that's today, 2025. Will you join me in a spirit of reverence, a disposition of prayer, a way of paying attention to deeper things that feels good to you? As we hear these prayers of the people. Tom, do you have the Zoom chat? May I see the Zoom chat? Thank you. Don't want to leave our Zoom friends out. Thank you. Spirit of life, love and all good growing things, mother, father, great, 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 great grandparent, God, love behind all the stars, all things that turn and return again to the new, to the possible, to the life that's worth living. We find ourselves in a complicated and challenging time, as most all times have been, although our time is certainly different. Special for it's marked by strange new technologies, strange, cruel wars, new creative ways people have found to hurt themselves and one another. May the God of our understanding, the love that's bigger than us, as a philosophy, as a force, as God itself, be strong enough, within us enough, to help us pay attention and to move patiently with our own feelings and the feelings of others, especially those who are in our care or who are vulnerable. May we give our care and our love to all who are suffering under oppression, under war, under famine, all who are sick, all who are in chains. May we know in our heart of hearts that true freedom, true emancipation from the parts of us that haunt and hurt, from the things in this world that break and destroy, requires the emancipation and freedom of all people. May we find our small part to play in that great big neighborhood of loving our neighbor in this world towards wholeness. And may we hear these prayers of these people and this congregation on this day. Friends, I want to remind you that pastoral care is available. If there is something on your heart that you need a hand with or just an ear to hold, we got some really good listeners here, myself included, so don't be a stranger. Each and every one of you is special and is worthy of being heard. And we're a small enough congregation that I can come visit you. So don't be a stranger. Before I get to my preaching part, pass it off to Fred one more time. We're going to run just a little late today, friends. I do have two quick announcements. I'd like to give them here because by now maybe we're paying attention. So 2 quick announcements. One, our friends with Omaha Together One Community are creating a team to study transportation and pedestrian safety in Omaha, and they're hoping to canvass the neighborhood around this area, 120th and Center, to talk to residents about their experiences getting around, looking for hazards on the road, like unpainted crosswalks, too high curbs, you know. If you'd like to help with that, please look for Tara Kirk, and if you don't know who Tara Kirk is, come find me and I'll make sure you know who Tara Kirk is. She's someone to know. Special person. Also, it's not in our announcements, but we are doing wild worship with our First United Methodist friends this coming week on Friday, the 29th at 6 p.m. That's going to be at First United Methodist on Cass. It's a beautiful, beautiful church, beautiful historic building. They're going to be joining us here for our annual Samhain fire service. So please come to both of those. That's going to be on Friday, the 29th. We'll be celebrating Lammas, which is kind of a potluck, kind of like pagan Thanksgiving, you know. Bring a dish if you like, friends. Bring a dish. If you don't, we'll have food for you. But do come and celebrate the partnership we have with First United Methodist. It's very special. Well, that's enough for me for now. Sarah, would you like to share that next video for us?
So many people have asked me, do you ever get mad? And of course I answer, well, yes, everyone gets mad sometimes. The important thing is what we do with the mad that we feel in life. A few weeks ago, on my way home from a particularly tough day at work, I stopped to see my 2 grandsons. Their mom and dad weren't there, but the boys were there with the babysitter in the backyard, squirting water with hoses. I could see that they were really having fun, but I felt I needed to let them know that I didn't want to be squirted. So I told them so. And little by little, I could feel that the older boy, Alexander, was testing the limit, until finally his hose was squirting very close to where I was standing. I said to him in my harshest voice, "Okay, that's it, Alexander. Turn off the water. You've had it." He did as I told him, said he was sorry, and looked very sad. The more I thought about it, the sadder I got. I realized that Alexander had not squirted me, and that I had stepped into his and his brother's play with a lot of feelings left over from work. So when I got home, I just called Alexander on the phone. I told him I felt awful about my visit with him, and the more I thought about it, the more I realized that I was taking out my anger from work on him. I told him I was really sorry. Do you know how he answered me? He said, "Oh, Bubba," he calls me Bubba. "Oh, Bubba, everybody makes mistakes sometimes." I nearly cried. I was so touched by his naturally generous heart. And I realized that if I hadn't called him, I might not have ever received that wonderful gift of Alexander's sweet forgiveness.
What do you do with the mad that you feel? As small a gesture as this example of Mr. Rogers, but as y'all. As small a gesture as this example that Mr. Rogers has provided may seem, this reaching out, especially to children and those who are vulnerable, who may be harmed by the mad that we express, has a tremendous impact, both on the person who is reached out to, but also the person who does the reaching out. I remember, personal story, the day my grandfather apologized to me for saying unkind things about trans people, and I'll always cherish the gift of his compassion and the opportunity for repair and the bravery, the kind of regular, everyday courage for a grandfather to approach their grandchild with a very different understanding of the world than they have, and to apologize. I'll always cherish that opportunity for restoration across misunderstandings and difference. It's times like ours, though, that such little acts of pardon may pale in comparison to the big pains of the world, the mad that we feel, the sad that we feel, the scared that we feel. But they are our feelings, and it is not bad to feel them. As grown-ups, it's up to us to be very mindful of our big feelings and to find effective ways to communicate them so that they do not hurt other people or ourselves, especially children and vulnerable people in our lives. This isn't to say something silly like, "Don't be angry." That never works. That never works. Seldom can we will ourselves out of anger or sadness, and often when we manage, what are we really doing? We're just shoving something deeper into our heart to come back out later and bite us. Have you ever had a big feeling that you put away for later? Like a big dish that you leave in the sink to soak. This is very important. Cultivating and nurturing such a disposition within ourselves is itself an act of repair. For just as the neighborhood is made up of many connections, and just as one of our central tasks in the religious community, as we often say, is to unveil the bonds that bind each to all, it is not enough to merely unveil bonds, but to mend them and tend to them. So too are we made up of relationships, right? Our relationships with our bodies, for example, which definitely changes as we get older, even after we are all grown up. We are still growing even long after our bodies start to age, and we will all have feelings about that. Things we used to like to do may become things we are asked not to do anymore, and that can feel really upsetting. That can feel really scary. What we do with those feelings matters, so that we don't hurt others or ourselves out of fear or pride or anger. So we are never done growing, even when it comes time for us to say goodbye to life when we die. Up until that moment, there is always room for us to keep growing. We don't like to talk about our big feelings. We definitely don't like to talk about death. Doesn't seem very polite, but it's human. It's one of the most human things we can do. And insofar as the work of the religious community is also to help people prepare for dying, which it is, learning how to be a good neighbor helps us do that. It helps us to meet the end of other people and our own end with dignity and respect. Some of us are very young and we don't have to worry about these things just yet. But some of us have to think about this stuff because we're getting older, and that's okay. When times and trouble weigh us down and wear at our heart, we may still seek the path of neighborly kindness. No matter what our body is letting us or not letting us do, we can always seek the path of loving our neighbor, of loving ourselves as our neighbor. I find it important that when Jesus is asked the greatest commandment, so often I have heard it told, you shall love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, body, mind, and soul. And the second is like it, you will love your neighbor as you love yourself. Those two things feel related to me. For how can we truly love our neighbor? As RuPaul would say, how are you going to love, if you can't love yourself, how, I can't remember. You know, RuPaul wants you to love yourself, excuse me. That's what I get for ad-libbing. Very different, Mr. Rogers and RuPaul, although I am confident that Mr. Rogers would think that RuPaul is very fancy. Very fancy. But when these times wear us down, we can turn to the spiritual practice of loving our neighbor. It might feel common, it might feel ordinary. That is okay. That is okay. It is still sacred. It is still spiritual. You don't need incense and candles and braziers to lead the work of the Spirit. We do it here every Sunday, right? You do it all the time. I know so many of you do. I know so many of you are already doing this very kind of important work within yourselves and helping other people do that work, helping other people in really important ways, social workers and immigration attorneys, teachers and technicians. But even those of us who are retired, and especially those of us who are still children, can do this as well, you know, by just being good friends, just being good neighbors. This is how we move along the sacred path of love, worn in the hardness of the world by all the love that has carried us thus far. I'm going to take a quick pause. I promise we'll be done soon. But there is a practice that Fred Rogers would do, and we've done it before too. But I want you to think about all the love that has carried you this far, all the people that have loved you to this moment right now, just for 1 minute. I'll even set a timer. Thank you for doing that with me, friends. Who did you think about? Was there someone you might call? Someone you haven't spoken to in a while? Maybe someone you can't speak to anymore. Maybe things have changed. There's so many possibilities, so many ways that love can lead us to where we are and to the people that we've become. That's why there's no one like you. We're all 99% genetically similar, very similar. And yet there's no one that's quite like any one of you or anyone anywhere. The ability to recognize that about ourselves and other people is the heart of love in our lives. Humanity, friends, we are made for community. And so reaching out to our neighbors, repairing connections where we can, pardoning where we can, knowing we can't all the time, but where we can, leaning in deeply. This is scary, actually. Think about knocking on doors. We're like, what did I just ask folks to do? Go canvass the neighborhood about potholes and stuff? That's knocking on the door of your neighbor. That can be really scary. You don't know who lives there. It could be anybody. But we can do scary things. We can do hard things. We've done scary and hard things before, many of us. And it's okay to practice doing these things with other people. Things like this are also a way that we can live out that sacred call to love. The reaching out, the reaching in, the weaving of connections and repair. It will take more than one of us alone to heal the neighborhood, friends, to help ourselves and our neighbors, both the vulnerable and the powerful, to learn to express the mad that we feel in ways that do not harm ourselves or others. So let us be, to borrow a word from our Jewish humanist friends, tikkun olam. That means to be repairers of creation. It has meant a lot of things in the past, but generally today when we hear it, it means to be engaged with the repair of the world, to truly be keepers of the neighborhood. Some called to guard against wickedness, some to care for the afflicted, some to the teaching of the young, some to the protection of the land. However we are called, may we connect our calling to the repair of the world and the love of the neighborhood, filling and being filled with the loving kindness that would allow us to be well, and to help our neighbors be well in turn, to love and to become love's will in the world. Excuse me, friends, tongue-tied today. Here's a final word from Mr. Rogers, a blessing of gratitude and a charge to care that he put out shortly after the 9/11 attacks in the World Trade Center. Sir, will you share the video?
No matter what our particular job, especially in our world today, we all are called to be tikkun olam, repairers of creation. Thank you for whatever you do, wherever you are, to bring joy and light and hope and faith and pardon and love to your neighbor and to yourself.
Final hymn. It's actually not Mr. Rogers' name. It is a meditation on loving kindness. We'll have the lyrics on the screen. And friends, I encourage you to, rather than stand, you might sit here, unless you want to stand, but to find yourself grounded, rooting yourself in a kind of loving kindness. What made Fred Rogers' life so exceptional? He grounded himself every day. He woke up at 4 in the morning or 5 in the morning, went on a walk, went on a swim, read scripture. Let us find ways to ground ourselves as we meet the times. We have our chalice extinguishing. Friends, will you read these words on the screen with us together? We extinguish this flame,
but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment.
These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Our doxology. Wait for it. Praise love from which all goodness shines. Praise freedom lifted to the skies. Praise the fires of the mind. Praise all the joy we've yet to find. Prophetic Church, this world awaits your liberating neighborly ministry. As we go from this place, let us be fools for love. Let us be good neighbors. Let us be pilgrims for justice. And until we meet again, maybe rock, roll, and move towards that beloved community on the horizon. Go in peace.